up with scammers who prey on bereaved widows? Happy spring! I'm back, and I'm going to start off this season talking about scammers who prey on bereaved widows, especially on social media. As many of you know, I lost my husband 2 years ago. For me and my grief, it may as well been yesterday, because the excruciating pain of missing the love of our life doesn't go away. In light of this new widowhood I'm living in, I wanted to discuss the topic of scammers who have an agenda. That is either hitting on someone on social media or in groups because they are lonely and think it's politically correct to hit on those still nursing their wounds and navigating through grief. Perhaps they have no compassionate etiquette, but they may also be lurking around for personal gain and possibly for a financial boost. Whichever the reason, such doings are disrespectful. It's truly astounding to find that predators lurk everywhere, mostly with bad intentions as they seek out the lonely grievers with attempted charm and wily ways. Since my husband's passing, and much of it spent in COVID seclusion at the worst time of one's life, I had turned to joining into some online grief groups. I felt it may be a place I could go to feel a kinship with like-minded people. Those who've walked the walk, those who know how painful grief is, a place where others spoke my language. I had hoped that these groups may have been places of comfortable harbor, places to speak from the heart and listen with others. But sadly, the number of men who wangle their way into these groups hoping to seek out the vulnerable seems to be ever growing. Personally speaking, these groups do not help me, yet I continue to pop in for some words of solace. And because I consider myself a great Facebook profiler, I've learned how to figure out these grief masqueraders. First thing I do is click on the pages of those stalkers who continually message me or leave message for me in replies to my comments. Almost all of them seem to have lonely pages with barely a post, as though they specifically joined Facebook to lurk and lure. Please do your diligence so you aren't caught up in these scammy lures. If you click on the profiles of these hucksters, you're almost guaranteed to find no photo of them, nothing about them on the page, maybe one or two posts that relate to nothing, and either zero or a single count of friends. Alternatively, you may find a page that says the person is a widower, and this still doesn't make it right for them to be messaging sad widows in efforts to meet up. It's bad enough that some do this, but it's even scarier when the messenger had ill intentions, like to scam innocent grieving people for money. I get many requests, compliments, and sweet nothings from plenty of lunatics on Facebook, but these grief pages top the charts with lurkers. These places are like a magnet for loveless losers to prey on the broken-hearted. How many times on the news are we warned about scammers, yet so many still get caught in this web? It's up to us all to do our due diligence and check out first who we think we are friending and allowing into our personal circles. For many who are not tech-savvy and join social media groups, there are things we must do with diligence, starting with being aware of requests we receive. And I might add, the people who run these delicate group pages should also be more diligent when screening applicants who join these groups, or they should make these groups private. After a new member has been accepted and vetted, only then should they be able to leave comments. It only takes me a moment to figure out many profiles are bogus, robots, or that they have ill intentions. Why can't a moderator do the same? I'm a moderator in 4 different Facebook groups, and every time I get a request from someone who wants to join one of my groups, I take the time to visit the applicant's page and schmooze around to see what they post and how they would fit into my groups. Checking out their About page helps me decide if I will admit them. If all the prerequisites aren't met, I don't admit them. It's not hard to figure out how these lurkers find us. They join groups with vulnerable people and try to befriend them with sweet words. If you're like me and have all your posts on your Facebook page only visible to friends only, and you should, this is your first barrier of defense. They cannot roam on your page or see personal posts or photos, but they can still message you, and these messages predominantly go to Facebook spam messages and sit there until we delete or accept them. I think I have hundreds in mine over the years, long before I was even a widow, even with my relationship status listed as married. I don't even look anymore, other than when someone approaches me on Facebook group page and then checking my spam messages, I find them there too. But since I've joined a few grief groups, I have certainly noticed the uptick on comment replies from some strange people. When people start leaving you messages and comments to a statement you made in a group that has no relevance to the comment you made, be suspicious. When you've poured your grieving heart out in a statement and get a reply from a guy telling you how beautiful you are and asking you to please accept his friendship so he can message you privately, that's just wrong. Just don't allow these types of lurkers into your private space, and please be diligent with your privacy settings. Remember, no matter how old and non-tech savvy you are, if you are curious, suspicious, or perhaps intrigued by a complimenter, please Google up that person, especially before getting personal. If you aren't tech savvy, ask a friend or a family member to help you out. I may be grieving, I may be sentimental, but I'm no dummy. As many writers spend most of their waking life on the internet, mingling in social media, we know well about lurkers, losers, hackers, and scammers. But for the many who are not internet savvy, pay attention to how you allow people into your digital life. The internet can be a dangerous place if you have no basic digital skills. So what should you look for in order to not fall vulnerable prey to these lurkers? Comment replies to your posted comments. Are they valid, or are they scamming, or maybe even going through heartache themselves? Either way, grief groups are not a dating site, and although some of the broken-hearted and lonely may be seeking companionship, hitting on women in grief group is tactless. If by chance a griever feels they are ready to progress to meeting someone, they should do so in the appropriate arenas. That is, through personal introductions, or through get-togethers, or by joining some specific online dating sites. And if you should decide to join dating sites, please use caution and the internet to learn more about that someone new who enters your life. Google can be our companion and lead us to a host of information about someone, especially through searching someone's social media posts and comments. If you aren't internet savvy, please ask a friend or a family member who is to help you mine information on someone you may be curious to learn more about. You can learn a lot about a person by checking out things they say and post about on social media sites. That's the clincher here. Learn more about someone before going out into the real world and meeting or giving them any private information about you while chatting online. Beware of sob stories of those seeking financial gains, and never meet someone new anywhere except somewhere in a public place. We don't friend people we don't know from a stranger out of the blue in real life, just because they ask to befriend us. Friendships are built over time. If you meet someone in an online group that you find you have stricken up conversation with over time, or someone who is friends with someone you already know, then you may want to consider accepting them as a friend. But even then, please do your homework on that person before allowing them into your personal space. Sadly, I feel these things need to be talked about and repeated over and over until everyone understands, especially seniors. When I watch my local news and hear about another poor lonely senior who got taken for their retirement savings and more, I'm devastated for that person, and both saddened and angered that a human being could undermine another for personal gain. Sadly, it's a thing, and it's a global operation. So I felt I wanted to talk about this today. And I truly hope that if my words can help just one person, that's one less for the culprits. Thanks for listening, and please be safe out there.